Some games reward you for playing on hard, and some games, well, make you feel dumb for not playing on hard. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 20 games that humiliate you for playing on easy. Starting off at number 20, it's Super Mario Galaxy 2. While this game doesn't have any traditional difficulty levels, what it does have is equally as insulting. If you die too many times on a level, you get the option of playing through it with the Cosmic Guide. It doesn't make the game easier or anything, it just plays the game for you. It's the video game equivalent of getting your big brother to do the hard part for you. There was actually a pretty big stink about these guide modes when Nintendo first started introducing them into their games. And we're not going to get into any of that here, but for us at least, the real issue isn't that the game will play itself and if it thinks you're doing badly, but that if you do give up and let it do the Cosmic Guide, then the power star you get doesn't even count. Instead of the usual star, you just get this sad bronze star, and if you have any of them, then you can't go to the last level. It's totally locked out until you go back and play through the main level again normally. I guess the idea is that you'll learn how to get through a stage by watching it, but for a game that's supposed to be as kid-friendly as Super Mario Galaxy is, it's kind of a mean thing to pull on the player. And even if you're not a kid, it's still kind of humiliating to get that "wanna switch to easy mode" question after dying so many times. For certain players, like us specifically, it just pisses us off. At number 19 is the Metal Gear Solid 5 Chicken Hat. You can't make a list like this without bringing up the Chicken Hat from Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, look at it, it's totally ridiculous. Like with the Mario example, the game offers to give you this thing only if you manage to die a bunch of times in one mission. For whatever reason, this thing makes it so that enemies don't notice you the first time they see you when you've got it equipped, because they must mistake you for a chicken. It's so realistic. What's even funnier about this thing is that if you continue to die like around 10 or more times beyond getting the chicken hat and putting it on, then you get the little chicken hat, which basically makes you completely invisible. At this point, you basically can't lose, but it comes at what cost? The chicken hat is so goofy and lame, it's kind of hilarious, but got to feel pretty bad if you have to legitimately use it, like you need it. At number 18 is Ninja Gaiden Black's Ninja Dog difficulty, another absolutely infamous example of a game humiliating you for playing on easy. You've probably heard of this one before, but if you die enough in the Xbox remake of Ninja Gaiden, or Ninja Gaiden Black, you know, the updated version, then you get the option to play the game on Ninja Dog difficulty, which is about as embarrassing as it gets, because the game really rubs it in. Like, instead of asking with something simple like, switch to easy mode, they're like, do you choose to abandon the way of the ninja? And then you have to confirm it multiple times. Then to really add insult to the injury, Ayami, your apprentice, appears and basically calls you a loser in so many words. What really makes this so bad is that, like, not like a lot of other games that make fun of you for playing it on easy, the game is legitimately really hard. So for a lot of people, it can be really tempting to switch over, but man, does this game rub it in. At number 17 is the Dishwasher Vampire Smile Pretty Princess difficulty, a weird one. The Dishwasher was always one of those early indie game trailblazers that came out on Xbox Live Arcade back in the day, and it is still one of the best. To describe it, is pretty much Devil May Cry, but a side-scroller with art by an over-caffeinated, heavy metal-obsessed teenager. And like the game series that inspired it, the game can be very tough. There's another difficulty that changes if you die too much, and it's pretty embarrassing because it gives you Pretty Princess difficulty. And enemies aren't that aggressive, they're way easier to kill, and instead of spraying blood when you attack them, they shoot out little hearts. The developers really go all in on the heart theme too. Like, they put hearts into the background on this difficulty as well. At number 16 is Wolfenstein The New Order, practically the inventor of this whole gimmick. It's probably not the first to make fun of you for playing on easy, but it's the most famous and earliest example, at least in the current trend. With new games, they adapted the difficulty levels from the original game almost exactly as they first appeared, so there's normal, which is just a BJ face, then the easier difficulty, Please Don't Hurt Me, has him making a scared face, and the worst of them all, Can I Play Daddy, which puts BJ in a baby bonnet and has him sucking on a pacifier. It pretty much looks exactly the same as the originals, but it's somehow even more insulting here, rendered in much better detail. And number 15 is Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, which the difficulties levels are pretty standard. There's not really anything to talk about there, but this is one of those games that saves its biggest insult for the end. If you play the game on easy, the achievement you get at the end is called Padawan, and you got a picture of Jar Jar Binks giving you a thumbs up. Like, for a lot of Star Wars fans, just the sight of this guy is insulting enough, but it's very clearly geared towards making you feel like a chump. And number 14 is Deadpool's easy mode, which is just like Wolfenstein. The Deadpool game, it goes out of its way to make fun of you for choosing the easy option. And just like in those games, if you choose easy at the start of the game, you get a picture of Deadpool's face with a pacifier in his mouth and a tear going down his face. Funny thing is, the actual name of the easy mode isn't that insulting. It's called Genetically Superior, which basically just implies that you're innately more powerful in this mode. Of course, what they actually think is pretty obvious, considering the face you get for selecting it. I mean, it's sarcasm, and so is everything in the game, honestly. And number 13 is Doom, an absolutely classic game with some unusual difficulty options. Everyone knows about the quote-unquote I'm too young to die and hey, not too rough modes. Both options, the game makes it pretty clear what the developers think of you, that you are a loser. But there's a nastier variation. On the PS1 port of Doom, I'm too young to die was changed to the much more blunt, I am a wimp. I mean, damn, tell us what you really think, developers. At number 12 is Mega Man 10. Released back in 2010, Mega Man 10 was an intentional retro throwback, which of course means the game is pretty tough. Actually fully in line with a lot of the difficulty of many of the old school NES Mega Man games. But it also gave some concessions to new players by introducing an easy mode, but the problem was that this mode was just way too easy, like insultingly easy. They pretty much put this obnoxious red block thing everywhere, and they made it almost impossible to fall in a Mega Man game, and that's like half of the difficulty. This is one of those easy modes that's not insulting because it's making fun of you, but because how it turns a challenging game into a total cakewalk. Like for players who wanted slightly more easygoing aspects to the game, this baby's first platformer mode feels like a really big slap in the face. At number 11 is Kid Icarus Uprising. Here is a game with some unusual difficulty settings. It works like the recent Smash games where you adjust the intensity on the scale from 0.1 to 9.9, meaning the difficulty level is actually very fluid, but the game finds a way to insult you anyways. If the intensity is set at the lowest, it'll show a picture of a monster waving a white flag with your guy. His name's Pit, chasing after it. Basically, it makes you look like a bully, like choosing this setting is so unfair that you're a jerk, you know, just for picking it. Oh yeah, and the difficulty level is called effortless, so they might as well say you're a cheater for picking it. At number 10 is Myth and Myth 2, the series Bungie worked on before Halo. The Myth games are actually pretty great tactics games that are pretty damn tough. One funny thing about them though is their difficulty descriptions. Like they don't just have a title, they have like this whole flowery, wordy description depending on the difficulty level you choose. So like, of course, choosing the easiest setting, which is called Timid by the way, the description is just one long insult. You grow tired of blunting your weapons on a poorly led horde of mindless corpsemen, and once you have reduced them to so much sausage filler, the sweet taste of success will turn to ashes in your mouth. Yeah, I think that basically says it all. And number 9 is God Hand, another tough game that just has to mock you for having the audacity to pick easy. If you select the lowest difficulty level, Gene, the main guy you play as, will make fun of you by saying,
"What? You need me to hold your hand or something?"
We're like, yeah, that's kind of the point. We're choosing easy. We want it to be easy. Is that really so much to ask? And number 8 is Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge. When it comes to adventure games, Monkey Island 2 is one of the more reasonable ones out there. At least, they didn't put any Walking Dead situations where you screw up early in the game and you find out that you did something wrong hours later, and doesn't have any fail states. I mean, that doesn't mean it's super easy or anything. There's some pretty obtuse puzzles in there, but it's not the worst or anything. To be even more forgiving, the game includes a standard difficulty and a light difficulty, and considering the game's irreverent nature, it's no surprise the light difficulty is a little bit insulting. Choose it and it says, I've never played an adventure game before, I'm scared. And it basically makes it so most of the puzzles are already solved. Funniest part of the whole thing is the blurb on the back of the box saying that the light mode was for new players and video game reviewers, which, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Some things really do never change. At number 7 is Twisted Metal 2. The car combat games, they're pretty intense, but if you play Twisted Metal 2 on easy, then it does that really rude thing some older games used to do, like it didn't let you finish the game. Yeah, if you choose to play it on easy, the game just ends before the first boss with a screen that's just a stop sign that says, no losers allowed beyond this point. Even in the realm of games that don't let you finish them when you play on easy, it's pretty damn mean. And number 6 is Wanted: Weapons of Fate. Honestly, it's a pretty easily forgotten movie tie-in game for the movie Wanted. There's one particularly blunt insult directed at anyone who chooses to play the game on easy. Like, there's a difficulty select, and yeah, it literally just says pussy. The game calls you a pussy for playing on easy. That is about as direct as it gets. And number 5 is Spider-Man PS1's Kid Mode. Developed by Neversoft, the creators of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the Spider-Man PlayStation 1 game was actually pretty legit. But the easy mode, called Kid Mode, is one of those difficulty settings that's so easy it basically takes all the fun out of the game. It basically plays the game for you in a lot of instances and automatically solves a bunch of puzzles. Like, you're pretty much just left to swing around, which, don't get me wrong, it's fun, but it's good to have a point to the game, too. I guess in this instance, it's literally meant for very young kids, like who don't have fine motor skills or anything like that. But the addition of a little cartoon Spider-Man beside it only reinforces the point that if you've got 2 working hands, you shouldn't be playing this mode. Like, it's way too easy. At number 4 is Shin Megami Tensei 4, an infamously difficult RPG series which is unforgiving by default, but with this game at least, you do get the silver lining and they do let you play on easy, but only after they kick you while you're down a few times first. How this works is that when you die, you get the option of being revived by Sharon, who makes you pay a bunch of money and makes fun of you if you choose to come back, and if you manage to die again, he and his buddies don't just laugh at you, they also give you the easy mode option. It's a game that literally laughs at you when you die, and then laughs even more when you choose to play on easy, so there is no winning. And number 3 is Prinny 2. If you've ever played or heard of the Nippon Ichi Deseiji games, you'll probably recognize the humble Prinny. They got a ton of their own games on PSP, and unsurprisingly, considering how mostly useless these guys are in the main games, playing as one is hard. In the sequel, they give you the option to make it a little easier on yourself, but only at the cost of your dignity. The easy mode is called Baby Mode, and it really rubs your face in it if you pick it. Now every pit's covered up by these tiny pink blocks and baby demon pictures on them, and to really rub things in, they changed the healing items into diapers. The game literally calls you a baby and gives you diapers as items. It's mean. And number 2 is I Wanna Be the Guy, considered by many to be one of the hardest games ever made. I Wanna Be the Guy is basically trolling the game. It's filled with obnoxious traps and insanely difficult jumps, and it's all around cruel. Hilariously, the easiest difficulty level in this game is called Medium, and if you pick it, it puts a pink ribbon in your guy's hair and adds new save points. Of course, the save points don't say save anymore, now they say wuss. Yeah, I think the game wants you to play on hard. Even more ridiculous, some of the older versions of the game, there was like a regular old easy option, but if you pick it, the game would just kill you instantly. Like, nothing makes a game easier than just turning it off, I guess. And number 1, finally, is the Devil May Cry series. These are games just make you feel bad for losing. Yeah, there are harder games out there with nastier insults for picking easy, but the way the DMC games just casually offer you an automatic mode after you die so many times, it's probably the most psychologically damaging. There's not much out there that's more demeaning than when one of these games basically tells you that you should be playing on super easy because you suck too hard to play on normal. The worst is probably the first game. If you use a vital star at any point in the first 3 missions or die just 3 times, then the game is like, you should play on automatic, guy. What makes this so mean is that if you do choose to play on easy, you're stuck on that difficulty for the rest of the game, and you can't pick a higher difficulty even if you want to. I know it's something the developers put in the game to help out players, but this is DMC we're talking about. These games are for hardcore gamers who want a challenge, so when they hit you with the dreaded easy mode is not selectable message, it feels like the ultimate insult, even if it's not actually as cruel as a lot of the other messages on this list. And that's all for today. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.